serve all of us. Now, this study was authored by a Lindsay Smith, I believe Tiley is how you say that, out of the University of North Carolina. She's a PhD in nutrition. And some of her interests are as follows, as listed in her biography on Twitter here, or X rather. This is, predicated on the belief that meat is destroying the planet and that red meat in particular is unhealthy for us. Again, this is a product of a literally awful nutrition science system where we use, just ridiculous methods, food frequency questionnaires over a long period of time, with ridiculous amounts of confounders with an inherent bias.
No, there's nothing wrong with epidemiology, and as soon as this jackass sees an epidemiological study that coincides with his viewpoint, he will cite it, he'll act like this is good information, but as soon as it doesn't coincide with his bias, he'll say, oh, well, it's just epidemiology, it's bullshit, oh, there's so many confounding variables, data collection was bad. He's full of crap. There's about a 90% concordance with prospective cohorts and randomized trials. They have a very similar level of efficacy. So he's completely and utterly full of shit.
Bias already built into it against red meat, which has gone back since the beginning of nutrition science. I've talked about this sort of ad nauseum before. But anyway, this study is showing how can we get people to stop eating red meat, by either taxation, increasing the prices, or putting warning labels on the meat. And they did this, with, they had people buy their food online and they artificially added either warning labels, increasing taxes, or both, and saw what the results were. And not surprisingly, particularly when you added warning labels and increased the prices, that the consumption of that product went down as...
Most participants identified as women consumed red meat 2 or more times per week, reported doing all their household's grocery shopping. The warning, tax, and combined conditions led to lower percent of red meat containing items purchased, with 39% of control participants' purchases containing red meat compared to 36% of warning participants, 34% of tax participants, and 31% of combined. It's not a huge reduction. 65 $donate. Say what you want about Sean Baker. He was fucking jacked in this. Yeah, he was. Thanks for the donation, 65.
Would be normally expected. Now, why are they studying this? What is the point? Well, they're studying this because they are wanting to put this into policy. There are people out there that are considering this as policy to, again, restrict and limit your access to nutrition and food. Now, one of the criticisms...
No, they're trying to restrict your access to foods that cause disease.
I would have is with the beef industry, the beef checkoff, the NCBA, the people that are supposed to be promoting beef. Where's the counter study? Why don't we have a study showing the opposite? Why don't we have a study that shows the clear benefits of meat, the fact that people are using it to reverse disease, the fact that it has, high...
Why don't we see research showing beef reverses disease? Maybe that's because it can't be done. This is like saying, why don't we have studies showing cigarettes actually reduce the risk of lung cancer? Well, maybe it's because cigarettes cause lung cancer.
Highly bioavailable nutrition, the fact that it has compounds in it.
I love it when people say this, highly bioavailable nutrition. You realize any food you eat, you're going to absorb the nutrition from that food. You're stupid.
Clearly have benefits to the human health, the heart, the brain, and so on and so forth.
Red meat benefits the heart and the brain. I just love that. Buddy, if there is any indication that red meat makes you stupid, you would be the perfect subject.
Carnosine, carnitine, creatine, things of that nature. Where are those studies out there? Why don't we do a counter study that shows, what's the consumption like when you teach people about the enormous benefits that meat has, So this is, again, this is part of the ongoing effort to control you, to limit your freedom of choice.
This is just so fucking retarded. He's claiming the industry around research and nutrition research is biased against consuming red meat. So his proposition is that we should make studies that are biased in favor of consuming red meat and design studies in such a way where we can determine the outcome. That's not how research is supposed to be conducted. He's literally saying we should design studies where we can control the outcome to confuse people or trick them into thinking red meat's good for you.
And ultimately to sicken you. And yes, this will be something that will make more and more people sick, which means more customers. And as you know, nutrition science is dominated. First of all, it's a very female-dominant specialty. If you look at any nutrition class, it's probably 80-90% female. Not that there's anything wrong with that. However, there tends to be a sort of bias in there. Women and men tend to select different foods anyway.
Not really, no. Secondly, it doesn't matter if anybody has a personal bias. If they're conducting research properly, there's not going to be any bias in the study itself. It's just such a moron. Yeah.
And to sort of foist that upon the general population, again, based on faulty beliefs. Again, and many of these studies have been funded by groups like the Seventh-day Adventist groups, Adventist Health System, which is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that specifically is opposed to eating meat. We have other companies.
Doesn't matter. If they're publishing research with good methodology, it doesn't matter what their personal bias is. What matters is whether or not the research they're publishing has good, sound methodology.
And other organizations like the Physicians College of Lifestyle, or the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, also a multi-million-dollar operation, who are basically run by vegans. Physicians Committee for Responsible Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, basically a front for animal rights. Again, you have all these forces that have driven nutrition in a certain way, very biased. And again, this is in leading up to potential policy decisions. And again, it depends on who gets into office, if they want to implement those policies.
Where are the... Hello, Richard. This is Sean Baker. I'm a guy, and as a guy, I know that guys such as myself make different food choices than women. As a guy, I prefer to eat blood. I like to chew the flesh of animal limbs like a real man. Silly women. I'm a faggot BTW.
Yeah, that is something Sean Baker would say. Thanks for the donation, Sean Baker.
I'll leave it up to you guys to decide who might be best for that. But anyway, there is a war on meat. There is a war on your ability to nourish yourself and to feed your family in a way that you seem fit. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about that. I don't want to dissuade you guys from consuming meat, but again, it's something they're going to be going after the ranchers. They're going to make it harder and harder for them to make a living through additional requirements, whether they play with water access, whether they impose additional requirements on how they manage their livestock. This is designed not to improve anything, in my belief. It's designed to shrink that overall sector to the point where other sectors can take over and feed us cheap processed garbage, as is always the case. Every single time we have seen a reduction in animal source food, we have seen an equal and opposite increase in ultra processed food. Think about margarine, guys. I mean, this is exactly what this is, and the only benefit of that is to the shareholders' profits for the.
No, you moron. There's a higher profit margin with animal-based foods.
These big ultra-processed, food conglomerates. All right, guys, I'm gonna have steak.
Sean is literally tarded, dude.